All right, lads. As we all know, Republicans aren't actually people; they're demons. Who have infested human flesh, and as part of their long-standing scheme to bring about the end times, we now have the spectacular Missouri Make Murder Legal Act. That's not actually its name, of course, but it might as well be. This is essentially a law which legalizes murder. It's not a joke. That's actually basically true. Um, Missouri senators on Tuesday debated a stand your ground bill that backers say will strengthen the state's self-defense laws, but that a prosecutor has dubbed the Make Murder Legal Act. Republican Senator Eric Burleson's bill seeks to give shooters and other assailants the benefit of the doubt that they were acting in self-defense. If passed, it would mean that prosecutors could not bring charges against people who reasonably believed they were acting in self-defense. Police would need to find probable cause that shooters or other assailants acted unlawfully before arresting them. Stoddard County prosecuting attorney Russ Oliver, who spoke on behalf of the Missouri Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, called it the Make Murder Legal Act. He said the changes would, quote, make it impossible to convict a great number of people of assault. So, let me explain to you. First, I'm going to tell you why this bill exists. It's because Republicans want to kill black people and get away with it. Now I'll tell you what this could potentially do, okay? The way self-defense works right now, okay, is that it's a legal defense that you can invoke as an exemption to the criminal penalties associated with violence you inflict on another person. So if, for example, you are attacked with a knife in an alleyway, but you have a concealed carry weapon, and you fire and you kill that person, you will, in all likelihood, be arrested. Of course, this varies based on state law, but I'm speaking generally. And in your, in the subsequent fact finding, or possibly in an actual trial, depending on whether or not it goes to court, you would need to prove, as the person who exercised self-defense, that the murder wasn't a murder. You killed them as part of that legal exemption. You understand? It was something that you did, and you were allowed to do. You had the right to do so. This is an imperfect, but all told, I think, pretty good system. The burden of proof is on you to prove that you were acting in self-defense. And the reason why that's a good thing is because in a situation where the other person is dead, they don't have the ability to prove that you weren't acting in self-defense because they're dead. You need to be able to prove you were acting in self-defense of your own accord, because the way self-defense cases tend to go, there's only one account of the situation. If it were the case the other way, that the state would have to prove you weren't acting in self-defense, how exactly would they be able to prove that in a situation where, for example, two people, enter a house and then one of them ends up getting shot? They wouldn't really be able to. In this law, this new proposed Missouri law, they wouldn't really have a way of doing that. They would need to be able to find probable cause that you acted unlawfully. Now, I want you to imagine how that would work. Imagine a situation in which one person is dead and the other is alive. How do you find a probable cause that they didn't act in self-defense? It's almost like proving a negative, really. Like, how would you even begin to go about doing it? Sometimes it's possible. You could find, like, evidence that one person was maybe, like, running away, or, like, there was a chase or something. Maybe in some cases, but in many cases, it would be, like, essentially impossible. Which means that in, I think, the majority of murder cases, which would take place where there's no longer any, witness to the murder except for the person who committed it, there would be no way for the police to do anything. They couldn't even arrest them. And if you can't arrest the person who did the killing, you can't question them. And if you can't question them, you can't find holes in their story. You understand? If the state can't even arrest without probable cause, uh, they don't even have an in. They don't even have a metric by which they can begin to establish the facts of the case. They have nothing to work off of. There were two people involved. One's dead now, and the only other one, they don't have the ability to make talk. Scary stuff. Now, to my knowledge, there are like no places on earth where the state has to prove that a person didn't act in self-defense in order to charge somebody with murder. To my knowledge, I don't think anywhere, like anywhere, like anywhere does this, because it's insane. Like, because it's absolutely insane. It's completely insane. I can't think of any place. Maybe there's some place, maybe on the moon, possibly on the moon, Shadow. That it might be the law on the moon. Now, in a practical sense, the reason why this is happening is because conservatives are capitalizing politically on the fear that they've spent decades cultivating in their constituency. Conservatives live every single day as though it will be their last, because they're about to be, bricked by a bunch of young urban teen thugs. The average conservative, wears Kevlar underneath their ill-fitting polo shirt that they tuck into their baby blue jeans, because they're worried about urban youths gunning them down in the suburbs, outside of in the suburbs outside of like rural like Missouri or whatever. The conservatives live in a constant state of fear, is what I'm saying, and it's cultivated fear. And that fear is the reason why you get all these pictures of people open carrying in Walmart. The desire to engage in and have the ability to engage in self-defense is something that's fetishized by conservatives because it fits in with their paranoid, delusional belief that the world is getting increasingly dangerous and the only way to protect themselves is to live as a constant walking like armory. They also do fantasize constantly about killing people who they don't like. Conservatives, when they go to the shooting range, they will fantasize about gunning down like the urban youth that they see on their way to, pick up their kid from school. This constant paranoid fantasization. They want a legal framework through which to do that. If any of you think that I'm exaggerating, I swear to God I'm not. I swear to God that I'm not. You talk with conservatives for just a little bit, and it's so obvious that they're looking for any legal excuse. Like, listen to them talk. They talk about if the feds ever show up to take their guns, something that will never happen, they'll gun them down. They open carry because in case someone ever tries to fuck with them, they'll gun them down. Like, this shit doesn't happen. It does not happen. Funnily enough, the only people who probably do deal with relatively frequent day-to-day threats to their person are the urban youths they're so afraid of, and it's in large part due to the economic circumstances caused by the drug war. So the only people out here who have any good reason to be open carrying day in and day out are people who live in the fucking projects, all right? But for all of the, suburban warriors who go to their local Target with an AR-15 like around their back, it is a cultivated fear. In spite of the fact that crime is significantly down from the 90s, whatever else. So, now that conservatives have successfully primed their constituency for that degree of fear, this is like the ultimate virtue signal. Because now conservatives get to look at this and go like, yes, finally, now I don't need to worry about it. Now whenever I feel threatened, I have the right. I can do whatever I want. Nobody can touch me. They want to make they want to give every single person who carries a weapon on them the confidence of those JCS criminal psychology, like alleged self-defense cases who ended up losing their cases. You remember those JCS criminal psychology videos of the guys who there was that one guy who engaged in self-defense because he fell on his ground and shot some dude who was 20 feet away who was just walking or something, and then he went to jail. They want that guy to walk, and they want everybody to have the same unearned murderous confidence as that guy. Okay? Now, I don't think this law is actually going to pass because it is unusually psychotic, but there are increasingly psychotic laws that Republican legislators are going more forward to put, in Florida when they were trying to give more legal leeway for people to run over protesters with a car. That was fun. Fun, good. It was fun. Um, you know, Hold on. Didex Luminous Sun says, Vaush, I get your point here, and I think I agree, but isn't this guilty till proven innocent instead of innocent till proven guilty? I'm honestly a little confused. No, because self-defense is an exemption to a charge brought against you. In a traditional case, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you did indeed commit the murder. And in self-defense, you get to raise your hand and go, oh, don't worry about it, Your Honor. I did kill him, but it was in self-defense. And then you have to make that case. So now the question isn't whether or not you killed that person. You did. The question is whether or not you were justified in doing so. You're making an exception to the rule, but in doing so, you're admitting to the rule and thus bypassing the state's requirement to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you did the actual killing, because you have to admit to do the killing in order for it to be self-defense. But no, in this case, like this would be insane. Like this means not the state can't even bring charges against you until they find out that your potential exception to the rule isn't even a valid exemption to the rule. Like, you don't even have to invoke self-defense for them to not be able to arrest you now. They have to prove that it's not self-defense or find evidence that it's not self-defense beforehand, which is like preempting the defense, basically. Like, you could just murder a person and walk away, and the cops couldn't do anything about it because they have to assume that you're invoking the self-defense clause and then find evidence that you're wrong to do so, and only then can the charges begin. Absolutely wild. Wait, they have to prove it's self-defense before arresting you under this law? No, they have to prove that it's... They have to find probable cause that they acted unlawfully. Like again, this is insane. It's absolutely psychotic. Like, it's absolutely wild. In fact, I would be surprised if there wasn't a Legal Eagle video on it already. Is there? Let me see. If there isn't, there's going to be, because this is if there isn't, there's going to be. That's for sure. No, not presently. There will be. There will be. It'll happen. Don't worry. It is inevitable. So walking while black is going to be probable cause, isn't it? Fucking America? No. You don't understand. Not even. Walking while black getting you killed, if this law was to pass, they couldn't even arrest you until they found probable cause that you weren't acting in self-defense. You'd have to essentially prove a negative before they could even bring the charge against you. It's difficult for me to even, like, verbally convey how fucked this would be. Like, it goes beyond... it's beyond whatever you're imagining, okay? It would instantly, all of Missouri would be like would be just Mad Max territory. It's the Wild West. It would functionally legalize murder. So guilty until proven innocent. The person who's killed is assumed to be guilty until they're post-mortem proven innocent by the probable cause found that the assumed exemption of self-defense from the person who did the killing isn't valid. Yeah, good luck with that one, cops and prosecutors, finding probable cause on a case you can't begin until after you've found the probable cause. Yeah, it's essentially putting the burden of proof on the dead person, yeah. No wonder Missouri sucks. Well, Missouri sucks, I think, for a variety of reasons, but this definitely doesn't help. I doubt this law will pass. But this is what Republicans are up to right now. This is like, in terms of like civic functionality, this is like Somalia tier bullshit, okay? This is the equivalent of, like, Republicans are the equivalent of having, like, you have two political parties in office, and one of them are the Democrats, and the other ones are like blood cultists, okay? Sometimes it really does feel that way. It's not just them acting in bad faith, it's that they're fucking psychotic. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like a Lovecraft novel where like the government is being slowly taken over by like, you know, worshippers of like Shub Nirath or whatever, except everyone knows and like nobody's talking about it and we just all like got used to it, you know? So you read a headline and it's like, oh, the disciples of blood in Missouri are like trying to pass a law to make it so that like school children have to, enlace a cut on the tip of their finger and draw a pentagram on the floor of their kindergarten classroom every day and worship it before starting class. And you're like, oh, that probably won't pass. It'll be fine. That probably won't pass. Well, yeah, very, very a boring dystopia, tier shit. Yeah. Won't until it suddenly does. Yeah, exactly. And then people get used to it. It's like, oh yeah, dude, it's Missouri. Yeah, they do the pentagram thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, whatever, Oh, it's Florida. Oh, it's Florida. Oh, ritualistic burnings of corpses exhumed from graves, so the fumes of the dead may attract, the locust bringers. Yeah, well, it's Florida, whatever. Stupid. God. You know what I'm going on about. Um I think it's very unlikely that that law passes, but I think Republicans are going to continue to virtue signal to their constituencies with increasingly psychotic laws, some of which will actually pass. Wasn't it found that like Trump had a plan to use the military to seize voting machines just like a week ago? Like, again, I've said this before, but the existence of the Republican Party is an institutional threat, and democracy cannot survive their existence. If democracy in America is to survive, Republicans as an institution must no longer exist. And there's no reason they should, by the way, because they engage in sedition like for fun. I have no idea what the legal definition of sedition is in the mind of people who actually have the ability to bring charges to people for sedition, because I feel like they do it for fun. Is it just like jaywalking and it's just one of those things? Yes, Helios. I mean, is it just one of those things where like people, it's like, oh, whatever, sedition. Yeah. I cut the segment before I say anything TOS worthy. Hold on. Pardon me. He's just right here. He's got his little Pete stretched out. What are you doing?